Shall I see?
Okay, we are trying this again. Una and I had the most unbelievable discussion, and we just literally, Una just blew my mind. This was weeks ago, and we talked about the moon, we talked about water molecules, we talked about uh, amazing discoveries. Una showed some incredible photos and of places that she's been to, and it was just so incredible. And then literally, we just we just had our file completely corrupted. It was we started having all kinds of interference. There was just so much going on. It was crazy, and in the end, we just could not use that file. So this is our round two, and we're not going to be stopped by technology or otherwise interference. So welcome again, Una.
Thank you, Melly. Yes, it's it was incredible. It stopped us right at a very specific moment, didn't it?
It so did. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It was incredible.
yeah.
The timing, everything. It was, yeah, it was definitely some interesting interference. But
Mhm.
what I would like, if you don't mind, Una, is if you just introduce yourself as, I mean, Una is a shaman and she runs so many amazing courses, and I'll be putting the links to all of those in our bio. But Una, I would just love for you to introduce yourself as you would prefer.
Thank you, Melly. Well, welcome to everyone. And let's see. So I'm of Scottish and Swiss descent. I could never have planned my life the way it turned out. I was taken into a lineage of Mayan healers where I learned what they call light language, which is not what everybody else sees as light language. It's really working with consciousness to do things. It works with sacred geometry in a very different way from how we know sacred geometry. Very high vibration. And I was the assistant to an Eskimo shaman. Eskimo, I'm saying that on purpose because he insists he's an Eskimo and he's not an Inuit. He's from a different tribe, which taught me a lot. And now I've been teaching all sorts of things, especially light language and especially also the Mayan ways of doing things, but also the truth about many things I've found that are not so true that in the spiritual world and teachings, also in old traditions that actually are not true.
Oh,
So I think that's yeah. And I'm a world traveler. Yeah.
you certainly are, because where are you at the moment?
At the moment in Germany, and I'll be teaching a course this coming weekend.
So
And
you're
I
in
just came
Germany.
from Prague.
Yeah, you were in Prague yesterday when I messaged you. Today you're in Germany. I thought you were in Kenya, so I was trying to plan this meeting around Kenyan time. You thought I'd got the days wrong because I thought you were in Kenya. And now you're
Right.
moving to Madagascar. It's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Um, so and I actually wouldn't mind circling back at some point to ask you about a little bit of some of these things that you have learned to be not true, or some of these,
Okay.
if you were open to sharing any of those um, examples, and even if it's just one or two, I would love to hear them. But I think, what might be interesting to start with is what we started with last time, which came about from my video from the moon. And I'm very interested because you got in contact with me after that, and we had a little bit of a chat around the moon, which I didn't know a lot about until I had that kind of quite visceral reaction. But what I find interesting is, the moon is seen as yin, it's seen as feminine, and therefore a lot of women worship the moon. and do things on the lunar cycle and literally plan events around the lunar cycle. And I'm interested in your take on that.
Yes, well, there was a time before the moon, and that comes from many different traditions. For example, the Dogon speak of a time before the moon. It's been well researched. So I'm not sure when the moon came here. Probably some, several tens of thousands of years ago. And we know that now the astronomers say that the moon is moving away from us at 4 centimeters per year, which is not much, but still it's moving away from us, whatever that means. And I think it's also been spread that the moon is artificial. One of the
Do you
things we know
believe
from,
that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because of course, it has an influence on all the waters, not only on our feminine cycles, but anything that is fluid, the moon operates the tides. So I wonder, what was it like before the moon? How did we procreate? How did we have menstruation? And that
Yes. Wow.
then ties into the story of Enki. And I've read the Enki tablets several times. And having spent so much time in Kenya, um, I I noticed that the Enki tablets have a lot of truth to them that I can corroborate. So it is said that Enki worked in Africa, genetically manipulating the humans. In those tablets, it says it took him 800 years to fabricate a species from material that's already on Earth that has the brains to follow instructions, be servants, have hands that can work, have the strength to work, and they they were absolutely delighted to have found created this human being, but this human baby had to be in the womb of one of the Anunnaki. So when that baby came out, and it was so perfect, and they were so delighted, except for, oops, what's that? They found a foreskin. So the Anunnaki look just like us, who were created in the image of the Creator, but there's a foreskin. So then I'm thinking, okay, the tribes that have foreskins, that do circumcision and cut off the foreskin, does that maybe come from that they wanted to be more like the gods?
Wow, that is.
And then I realized that the people, the tribes around Mount Kenya, and Mount Kenya is an absolutely incredible mountain, and I always felt there's something there that I can't quite put my finger on. So the tribes around Mount Kenya, they call their god Ngai, Ngai. And the Maasai, who are just a little further, not very far, who claim they come from the Jews, they call their god Enkai. So we have Enkai, Ngai, and Enki, all around Mount Kenya, this mountain where there's something that's different.
What?
And I've seen lots of mountains, there's lots of mountains with UFO stations like Mount Shasta and so on, and I've seen ET's land. But here we are at Mount Kenya, and there's something different from just a station inside the mountain. So I did some research, and I came across the 12 seers. Now, there's a website about the 12 seers, which is false. But I met this woman who has incredible knowledge. She's from the Kikuyu tribe. She lives by Mount Kenya. And she's one of the true knowledge keepers. And she said there's a portal on Mount Kenya that is top secret. Mount Kenya is huge. It's you can spend weeks walking there. And that is guarded by 12 seers, and nobody knows who those 12 seers are. They're not on the internet. They're not known. They're very secret. So they guard that portal. So
Are the 12
there's all
seers
these
physical
connections.
people?
Yes, yes. And she showed me some pictures of whom she thought they were, but she wasn't sure. Three of them. She thought she knew who they were, but even she doesn't know.
And so, I mean, this ties in a bit with, some of the things I've seen in visions around the Anunnaki, and I've been told that they were creator beings, and I don't know a lot about them except for what I've seen, but they were very sort of scientific to me. They were very interested in resources on Earth. They were very scientific and quite clinical in their approach. And then some of them had sort of migrated away from that clinical kind of element into having more feelings and more compassion for the human race. And so it was, very interesting to see uh, these creator beings that were uh, basically, yeah, creating us to be a slave race.
Yes, well, what happened, according to the Enki tablets, is that Enlil is his brother, and Enlil wasn't too happy about all these humans. But Enki, he was very attached because he started thinking how beautiful these humans are, and he started having sex with the women and procreating. So we have the demigods, the half human, half god people. I just want to jump back to procreation. So they created women so that the women could carry the children of these men who could work for the Anunnaki. Because the Anunnaki didn't want to spend 9 months carrying human babies. Now, what happened thereby is that we became independent, we became sovereign as a species. And now, of course, the whole fertility thing is being reversed, and that makes us dependent on technology for procreating. So it's really important, I think, for our sovereignty to keep that fertility and to procreate ourselves.
Mm, that is so interesting. And do you think that maybe the moon came into being around that time in order to
Exactly.
assist women through that procreation phase?
Yes, that's exactly what I think. And so the moon
Wow.
is programming us. The moon is programming us through the waters, and anybody, we consist of water, so it's programming us. And then you think of Vida Austin, who does all this programming through the water. Yes, we are programmed exactly through the water.
Yeah. And so that was the first time I've ever had a very visceral feeling towards the moon, and it was very much you're to blame. You're to blame for a hell of a lot of shit going on here on Earth at the moment. And it was just such an instantaneous thing. I was just staring at the moon for no good reason outside on the pavement, which I never do. And then just suddenly it just all came, and I was just so surprised and really quite shocked at this intense feeling that was coming out of me towards it.
Well, this is why eclipses are so important, because when the moon is eclipsed, the other information from the cosmos can reach us. That's why they're so
Wow.
powerful.
Wow. Oh my gosh, all of this is just blowing my mind again and again. That's just, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but that makes sense.
And it is our feelings towards the moon. They used to be very romantic, but now it's really about us being programmed. So it's good to send good vibes to the moon so that we're programmed in a good way. So I wouldn't just throw out the baby with the bathtub. We need to have a connection to the moon. We need that programming, right, for our sovereignty so that we can procreate.
Mm. So I wonder, could we procreate without the moon?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, maybe with technology. But
Yeah,
then is it our technology or who's making this technology? Who's creating this technology? All
yeah.
these, and maybe it's, you know, maybe they want robots instead of humans who can think.
Mm. So, yeah, I think the transhumanism subject is definitely, I mean, this has even come up in talks with Bill Gates and other people like that regarding, the quick advancements of AI and the real uh, truth behind AI and the harvesting of everything we say and do in order to make much more humanized robots and transhuman people, and also to enhance the intelligence of chips that they're putting into us and so on. And I don't think people really understand that. I mean, I did a Zoom the other day, and I'll probably get this from our Zoom, but I did a Zoom call just the other day, and for the first time, I then, within about 10 minutes, I received an entire summary of everything I'd said. So it wasn't even a transcript, it was an intelligent summarization of my entire talk, which came through. And I was just like, whoa. And it literally just had extracted intelligently the information from my talk and turned it into a long sort of summarization for anyone that wanted to have a look. But then,
Wow.
who is
Yeah.
looking and what is happening
Yeah.
to that data?
Well, this is something that David Icke says. He says they want direct access to our brain. So are the chips really an enhancement, or is it that they can uh, directly influence our brain? They don't have to do it through television or Hollywood anymore, so that we do what they want us to do. Uh,
Absolutely.
and yeah, I'll leave that. Well, okay, I'll say it. So what I've noticed,
Say it.
well, we want to stay on. We want this recording to go through, right? So,
Let's see.
so one of the things I've noticed is that the whole vaccination program was targeting the white people from Canada, America, over Europe, and Israel, and Saudi Arabia to Australia and New Zealand, because the white people are the ones who have invented so many things. We've invented, we're thinkers.
Mm.
Especially the German race is known as the thinkers. You've got Nietzsche and Brahms and Beethoven and Kant and Goethe and so forth. It's it, and the Africans, that's where the gold is, right? That's where the minerals are that the Anunnaki want.
Mm.
And as long as they can get the Africans to do the work, that's fine. But there's a lot of rebellion going on there now, too.
Is there?
Yes, absolutely. The no country, I think the highest percentage of people who took the vaccination was Kenya with 15%. All the other nations were much lower.
So they're actually way smarter than us.
They've had experience. They've been
Yeah, that's right.
used for so long, so
Mm.
and they're closer to nature than we are.
I
So
think
yeah,
that's really key because they have that connection to the earth, the elements, the portals, the dirt,
yeah,
the gifts of nature and the belief that nature provides.
Yes, yes. And Mount Kenya is one of those major places where everything sits.
Wow.
So now we've got Three Eye Atlas coming, whatever that is, and I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either, but it's certainly generating a lot of interest.
Yes. And it's supposedly going to be closest to Earth on the 19th of December. On the 20th, we have a new moon. On the 21st of December, we have solstice. So those are going to be some really, really hot dates.
Mm.
And what's happening is that there's a Canadian tribe that has information from way, way, way back. And what they do is open portals with a series of sweat lodges. And I had the privilege of being at just one sweat lodge, not a whole series, not a portal opening one. And so now I've invited two people who know that tradition to come to Mount Kenya to be there and to do the ceremonies in connection with the people from that area.
Mm.
And I'm just, it's some of their traditions just match, some of the things they know just match up.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I think you're looking at doing a bit of fundraising for them, aren't you?
Yeah, we've received almost all the money we need. We need another
Wow,
400, approximately 400 US dollars.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
That's really
So
great to
just
hear.
a
Well,
little
we'll
more.
definitely put some links in there and see if we can
Yeah.
generate anything for that last
So
400.
that will be wonderful. It's one of the stories they have from Canada is the white lion. They carry the white lion lineage, and they say that the white lion was the only one who walked with the creator. So now we're thinking the creator, Enki, at Mount Kenya, walking with the white lion. And then I found a figure, a lion figure, lion head and human body that found in a cave in Germany, many, many thousand years old. And you talk about the Lyra people,
Mm.
very, very old, ancient race in the cosmos. So I'm really, really curious what's going to happen when all of that comes together. And people who do contribute, they get to join a Telegram channel where they get a little bit of the background information.
Wow,
And you can
amazing.
come in person. There's still places for people who actually want to be there and experience that coming together of you know,
Hang on, is it
the
when is it?
it's it's sort of from the 13th or 14th of December to the 23rd of December.
You'd have to get your skates on to get over
Yes.
there by then.
Yeah. Well,
It would be
whoever's meant to
amazing.
be will be there.
Ah,
It
be
can happen.
absolutely amazing. Uh, can I just circle back to Mount Kenya? Is it Mount Kenya?
Yeah, it's actually called Mount Kiranyaga,
Mount
and
Kirinyaga.
the British couldn't express it, so it's turned into Mount Kenya.
That's really
And
funny.
one of the things about Mount Kenya is that the British still have their forces there, their army there,
Yes.
right there. There's aristocrats living there full time, not well known, not even well known by the Kenyans. Mm. And the royals come at least once a year to pray to Mount Kenya. So what's all that about?
What is all that about? That is absolutely
Mm-hmm.
bizarre. In this work around Mount Kenya, are you looking at changing the energy that's currently there, or creating more sovereignty? Like what are you hoping to achieve?
Well, we don't really know. It's just meant to be. These people are coming together. Uh, we're looking at bringing in the way they would say it, the tribe from Canada, the way they would say it is, we're knocking on the door to other dimensions. And if we knock loud enough, then the door may open just a tiny crack or even more. And we can bring in things that we need in this dimension, like love, like peace. These are things that are desperately needed. And it ties into when I saw two spacecraft land, this was in Joshua Tree Park in California, I was filled with so much love that for 6 weeks was all I could hold it. People came up to me and wanted to hold me, strangers just wanted to be around me. They would crowd around me. And I'm usually not that kind of person. And I'm more in the background. I'm more holding back. And here I'd go to parties and all the people I didn't know would be standing around me and hugging me. So this type of love, it was an unearthly love, something I'd never experienced on earth. So to bring that through is what we're looking at. And I'm sure there's more that we don't know yet, more that we can't even perceive just yet.
I love that. And yeah, I've had one experience like that where I woke up one day and yeah, I was just filled with, I guess the only way I could describe it is unconditional love, like a unified love as opposed to an individualized love, which I think is what we come here to Earth to experience. Well, that was my own personal vision of myself and why I came here. It was to experience individualized love and a love separate from source, or part of source, but that could be divided within duality. And I was so amazed that I would pick such an unusual reason to come to this planet. But on this particular day, I woke up and my body just felt like liquid. I don't know how to explain it. And I was like that from probably 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. So a number of hours it was in me. I certainly couldn't hold it for 6 weeks. How amazing. But those few hours were so impactful and so dramatic that I have never forgotten them. I've never forgotten them. And you're right, everybody was drawn to me. Everybody was coming up. People thought I was stoned. I mean, it was at 8 in the morning, dropping my kids off at school because they just, like, I was just in this sort of, like this just crazy, just liquid feeling of, even just all the cars. I couldn't believe how beautiful every car was, and every person in every car, and every tree, and I mean, it was just incredible, beyond words.
Yes, I think that's a way of remembering who we are.
Mm.
And that remembering who we are, the more people who can experience that, the better for this world, for this duality.
Kind of gives you a target. It helps you know what you're aiming for.
Yeah. Yes. And we have to do our work, of course, to open up to that.
Yeah, I love that. So we've got this mountain, we've got the Anunnaki, we've got the royals worshipping this mountain every year. We've got aristocracy living there. Do you ever feel that there is any kind of negative energy around that mountain?
Oh, yes. One has to be very careful there because, of course, if there's something very precious there, and probably it's the portal, then other forces want to have access to that. And sorry, I'm just sort of going through my head to think what I can say. Really, to get all that deeper information that we can't share on the internet, it would be good to just come to Mount Kenya and be part of that and hear that information.
Wow, yeah. So what about if we come back to these amazing images and where you found these artifacts and so on?
Yes. So let me just share some of the pictures I have. Right. So this is one of the things I ask most people, what is the most precious thing you own? And they'll start thinking and they'll start going into, well, it's my children, it's my family, sometimes my money, my house. But the most precious thing we actually own is our soul. And so here we come to the false teachings. And there are so many false teachings. Especially in spirituality, it's a bigger business than the pharmaceutical industry, teaching false things. And some of these things actually come from the indigenous world too, because of course in the indigenous world we had the Incas, the Aztecs. They ate babies, so some of those teachings aren't really great. Let me just see what I have here. Yes, the ringing like a bell, that comes from Apollo 12, where they let one of their shuttles drop onto the moon, and the moon had a vibration that ran for much, much longer than it should have. So they're thinking of the moon being like a bell, vibrating. And then we think of vibrations, we can think of the waters. What's happening? Is it through vibrations, light vibrations, and actual vibrations that they're using us? And when it comes to things that are not true, it was William Casey, who was director of the CIA, who said, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. Yeah, everything. If you think of everything. So one of the things information I've found in Europe, also information that I have to be careful about what I say, is that in 1580, all the entrances to inner earth were closed, and this was a decision taken by the big religions, the Muslims, the Shintos, the Christians, the Orthodox Christians. And so that was 1580. That's a key time. 1582, they changed the calendar. 1595, we have the Mercado map, which shows at the North Pole the 4 lands with the 4 rivers. So, what was that about? Then Galileo in 1610, that's just 30 years later. And then we have the Inquisitions. And 1688, we still have a map which shows that the Sahara was not a desert. And the witch hunts happened between the 14th and the 18th century. So here's a map that's in one of the palaces in Rome that shows that Antarctica is green.
Can I just ask, Oona, sorry to interrupt you, can I just ask the significance of the Inquisitions and witch hunts in the previous slide?
Well, they tried to stop certain information.
Right.
If they closed up the entrances to inner earth in 1580, and I do know that they didn't quite manage to close all of them. If they closed them all up, what were they trying to hide? What were they trying to stop? Was it for our benefit, or was it to our detriment?
So you think it was that late that those entrances were closed?
Yeah, I know. So this comes from a person who speaks medieval Latin and researched the state archives, the aristocratic archives, and the religious archives, and this is the information he found. And he found physical evidence, of which I won't be speaking here.
Wow.
And it also goes into the Nuremberg celestial event of 1561. So just shortly before closing up inner Earth. And that is documented. There was a war in the heavens. Also, from a biology book, a scientific book from the 16th century, we have unicorns. And when you think about it, the unicorn is on the crest of the United Kingdom. So you have the lion for England, the Sassenachs, and you have the unicorn, the white unicorn, the pure unicorn for Scotland. And the unicorn is in shackles on that crest. And that's white unicorn stands for Christ consciousness.
Mm.
And I'll just show you some of the figures that were found. And they're very different. They never show the feet. They've got diamond-shaped heads. And there were tons of figures like that and other figures that were found. And this is Stone Age, and they have wheels. They had the wheel back then.
Mm.
And then there were slabs of stone that, I've seen this with my own eyes. I've held this stuff in my hands. And it shows things like UFOs spinning over and over again, UFOs shaking, falling, crashing. Anybody can interpret that in whatever way they want. But it's so consistent that, let's see. And this is the one I really wanted to show. So this is a slab that shows these figurines we just looked at, pointing to a UFO. And this here could be interpreted as the Taurus, the constellation of Taurus, with the bull's eye right there, which is Aldebaran. And we also have these expressions of the bull's eye, right? You hit the mark if you hit the bull's eye.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's see. And we were talking about other misconceptions or wrong teachings. So let's look at this. Do I have a full spectrum here? No, I don't. So this is part of the spectrum. And here it would go into green and yellow and orange. So where would you put white if you look at this spectrum? Would you put it here? It gets darker and darker. It goes to purple and violet. And here it gets lighter to the light blue. And then you go into green and then eventually yellow. Where would you put the white light here? So if you look at the spectrum like that, where would you put the white? And what we've been taught is that you've got the purple and then you've got the white light up here. So I'm thinking this is the fake light. And we're really taught in spirituality to continuously go out, up, and out. Now, I've found information that if you go up and out, you eventually hit the membrane. You don't actually get out, but you get recycled into reincarnation. So if you put the two together like this, and just feeling into it, it just makes sense. And it feels right. It's like the music that was moved from 440 to 432, just slightly off, just moving the white back into my white heart. When I, way back years ago, I'd go take classes and you do these chakra meditations, and the heart was called green. And I could never see it as green. I could only see it as white. So I started asking around how people actually saw their heart chakra, and I could find people who saw it as white, but never dared to see it as white. And if you think of the prisma, the white light comes in. Let's say the white light comes in from another dimension and goes through the heart and then gets spread into the spectrum. I'm just seeing that I'm not showing this properly. I should be showing slides and not the notes. That's okay. So yes, so here we have, it splits into the spectrum. So obviously it would make sense for the pure white light to have a sliver of the spectrum right in the center between the yellow and the green.
Mm.
And I'm just going to, while we talk, I want to pull up another slide that I actually don't have on here. So another thing that, let's see, that I found in the Inca traditions, they teach you when somebody dies a technique where you're pushing the soul, and remember the soul is the most precious thing we have, we're pushing the soul out through the head. Now the Incas were interested in reincarnating us. And it's okay to reincarnate. And I found that especially in Africa, people want to reincarnate. They want to hang around, they want to be ancestors to their children and their children's children. They don't want to leave this matrix.
Mm. Wow. That's so interesting because I had a very clear vision and meditation a number of years back, about 8 years ago, and I was sitting very deeply, and I was showing us leaving our body, and I was showing our soul leaving, and then it would get so far out and it would suddenly bungee back. And I was trying to have a look at what was going on here. And I was shown that it was a magnetic technology that they had developed that was able to be attached to our soul. So instead of actually attaching to our physical form, these technologies were able to actually attach to the magnetic field of our soul. And so when we were trying to leave, we were magnetized and pulled back. And maybe within the framework of the mind, there is something around this white light that kickstarts the magnetic field, which brings us back again. I'm not sure, but that's very interesting.
Wow, that really ties in exactly into what I've researched.
Does it?
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. So if you do you know human design, Melly?
A little bit. I'm no expert,
Okay.
but I just know a little bit.
So I've found that fascinating, human design, because it's got such precision. I've been working with it for over 8 years now.
Oh,
And
wow.
there he says that we've moved 400 years ago. Okay, 400 years ago, that was, we're back to that 1580 sort of time area. Uh, we moved from seven-centered beings to nine-centered beings.
What does that
So,
mean?
I don't know. So instead of the seven centers that are being taught, to the seven chakras,
Right.
the seven main chakras, of course, there's others. We now have nine main chakras.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here.
That's what we're looking at here. And so I put the white into the lower heart, and then you
Hmm.
have the upper heart as green. And I took the hex colors here.
Hmm.
And if you feel into this, most people agree with me. They feel it just feels right. Like
Hmm.
432 hertz music,
Hmm.
it feels right.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
440 feels stressful.
Yeah.
This here is calming.
It is. I don't
Yeah.
know how, but it is.
Yes. Well, yes, it is. This is the white light coming through and splitting into the spectrum through the lower heart.
Hmm. That is so interesting. Wow.
And it also ties in what you say with the magnetic thing. So in human design, there's one that's called the magnetic monopole. And the magnetic monopole is where he says we come in through. And in science, they say that they're still searching for that magnetic monopole, but they haven't found it yet.
Wow.
So if we are created through that magnetic monopole, and that magnetic monopole is the lower heart, the white.
Yeah.
That's, I haven't quite got it yet, but it ties in with that magnetism. They're trying to disrupt that magnetism that takes us to the true white light.
Yes, I definitely felt that there was how would I put it? That the technology was confusing us
Yeah.
at a crucial point in our free will. So when our free will, when we leave our body, our soul has free will as to where it chooses to go and how it chooses to be expressed. And, maybe we're in the spirit realms for a while, maybe we are in another realm, maybe we're in a galactic realm. But I felt that there was some crucial confusion or muddling happening at a magnetic level as soon as our soul leaves our body. And I feel I've also seen uh, a, a very ancient entity on someone's head, and I've seen these on other people since. And what I could see was that this entity, this particular one that I saw, it just had the claws in the head. But what I could see from that entity was it was not of this world or this lifetime. That entity had been with that person through all of its lifetimes on this planet, going back centuries. And it had found a way of staying attached to the soul's embodiment of any vessel, thereby keeping the person asleep or in the lower vibrational realms, which we have cycled through for centuries, right? With the inquisitions, with religion, with extreme torture and pain and suffering, with terrible living conditions and lack of growth, lack of evolution, very slow, painful evolution as opposed to a loving, natural source evolution. And so I have seen many people with these entities that are soul-bound entities, and clearing them off has been a much bigger job than clearing a normal entity attachment. And they are very angry about being cleared off. They're extremely resistant. They have claimed this soul as theirs. So that's been a really interesting journey as well, going through these removals and so on.
Wow. That's, what I love is that you're such a wonderful seer, and that corroboration of the things you see, the things I've found, it's just fabulous, isn't it?
It amazes
the way
me
it
that,
fits together, you and me.
yeah, your
Yeah.
research amazes me. I'm always like, "Ugh." So it's amazing when the two things can come together and make sense.
Yes. So the way I see it is like an egg. So we are the yellow of the egg. And then if we go out through the head when we die, we go into the egg white, that sphere. But there's that membrane, there's that eggshell, which we cannot crack. It's a dead end. We have to come back. We have to go through the heart. So some of the things I've seen, you could say, or downloads I've received is that people who are let's say ascended masters. So the ascended masters, if they ascend this way, they're still in the egg yolk. And they are so highly developed, they're so close to the eggshell that everything is very wonderful. So why reincarnate? Because it's so beautiful, but it's still not it. You actually, I believe, need a physical heart to exit, because there's a portal inside our heart through which we can exit this egg, this whole realm that we're in.
Yes.
And so they need us. They're here. That's why so many people have reincarnated, because now is the time. Now
Absolutely.
it's easy because we can see we can see the Maya, we can see the illusion that we're in if we want to.
Yeah, and definitely, I've seen in the heart of one client, and I've seen it a lot since. But when I first saw it, I was just couldn't believe how beautiful it was, this big yellow light, and it was just like a glow, like a sun. So it was sort of like a sun in the chest. And when I asked what it was, I was told it was her sacred essence. And the sacred essence is, I was told this was hidden within the female lineage as a remembering of the human race and its true origins, and that every memory was stored within that sacred essence. And this was why women have been so subjugated and tortured and demonized over the centuries, because she was holding that sacred crystalline memory of the human race.
And they're getting God bumps as you speak of that.
Mm,
So this is, I think, a lot of work can be done by focusing on the heart, focusing on that white light
mm,
coming through. And I'm wondering, just because of the prisma, do we actually have something like a prisma, a plasma prisma maybe, through
mm.
which that spectrum is created?
Yes.
All we have to do is find that portal to the pure white light. We talk about the crystals in the pineal gland. Who knows? Maybe there's crystals in that particular part of the heart too. I don't know.
Yeah, almost certainly. I mean, our whole body is crystalline, so I think
So
that it's
yeah,
just the perfect makeup of energy and matter that transforms us into these incredible beings that are capable of just so much more. And I feel it makes me think of Lord of the Rings and the orcs, who are actually elves that have been taken and mutated and melted down and recreated as these kinds of monsters. But they are actually, capable of evolving really uh, back to the source of their energy, which is the elvens and this incredible light community, this light group of beings. I mean, it's amazing, really. The more you sort of look into all these things, the more it just comes pouring in, and
yeah,
and it just gets more and more amazing, doesn't it?
yes, and that's where you and I have talked about this before, about AI and the whole technology.
Mm.
It makes us less human and less focused on the heart.
And it's a
The ancient
frequency
teachings,
thing, like the
yes,
frequency that you
yes,
get from reading AI is very different from the frequency you get when it's come from the heart. You can feel a
yeah,
heart frequency through the writing, it's coded.
yes. I've stopped watching YouTubes that have AI voices. I can't listen to that
I
voice
can't
anymore.
listen to it either.
Mm.
No.
I
And
d-
yeah, and I think the same with posts. I'm very, uh, I'm very disconnected from AI posts, and people will send me things and they might say beautiful words and be very flowery and gorgeous, and I'm in full rejection. Every ounce of me is like, that's AI. I know from the frequency. I don't even need
Yes,
to know from the words, but I know exactly from the frequency that that is not a heart-led transmission.
yes, yes, we really have to tune into that. I know tarot cards that have been produced with AI words,
Mm,
and it sounds beautiful, and
mm.
it's not real.
Yes, and
It's
people are saying, "Oh, it tells me the most amazing stuff. It's so
mm,
accurate." And it's like, of course it's accurate. It's been listening to you, every word you say for the last 15 years. It knows you better than you know yourself. So of course it's
yeah.
going to give you an incredibly accurate reading of exactly what you want to hear.
I'll tell you another thing that I've come to believe is that, so this has happened over and over again. The people who are pure, the people who are, and they're usually white. In my research, the people of peace, they've been moving to the ends of the earth, like the Eskimos. The teachings I've received from the Eskimos are the purest I've ever heard.
Mm,
It's such high frequency. And then I was in New Zealand for 9 months, and what I found is that there were white people there before the Maori,
mm.
and they were the people of peace, the people of the waters,
The
and
Waitaha.
the Waitaha, yes, the Waitaha. And I met some Waitaha, and they're so pure.
There's a really special quality to them, and that they're a big
Yeah.
mix because they believed in DNA, um, and genetic mixing. They knew that it was important to genetically mix and interbreed in order to create stronger, more pure people. And they knew that that could not come from separation and division of the genes, but only by bringing them all together and bringing the rainbow. There's the prism, right, of
Yes, the prism.
genetic blending. Mm,
Yes, and another of the teachings I received from Eskimo really is that you know how the indigenous people sometimes, especially from the US, they feel like the white people have lost their spirituality, and
mm,
they're coming to take it, learn from them.
mm,
Well, what I found through those teachings is that the white people, they are the ones who need to unite the world. We're the
mm,
ones who can organize very well. We're the ones with the money. We're the ones who built the planes and the trains and the
mm.
boats. We're the ones
Yeah.
who go all over the world. We travel. We sit in the ashrams and the temples and the sacred fires and in the sweat lodges. So it is actually our task to unite
Mm,
and bring
mm,
peace to the world, and that's part of what I'm doing at in Kenya at Mount Kenya.
mm.
I'm bringing together. I'm not the one with wisdom. They're the ones with the ancient traditions that need to come together now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's, our role as facilitators is
Yeah.
to help this beautiful blending of Indigenous knowledge and wisdom to to come into its full power and full strength. And
Yes.
like you say, we are the ones with the means to make that happen.
Yes. And it has to be the correct ones. We also have to
Mm.
find the true ones, the ones who have not been manipulated and corrupted.
And there are a lot of those, but everything is
Oh,
frequency, which
yeah.
is why everything we teach is how to discern the correct frequencies from the untrue ones so that we can operate even in the middle of all of this conflicting information. We can still operate from a place of truth. Mm.
That is so true. When
Yeah.
you know how to tune into the correct frequency, not right and wrong, but the correct frequency. Yeah, it's so wonderful that you're teaching that.
Oh gosh, I could talk to you all night long. I think we're going to have to do a part 2 to this because you're just so fascinating. And
Well, thank you for opening up for this. And I feel you're a sister. I don't say that very often. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I feel deeply connected to you. Everything you say, I'm just absorbing. My energy field's just absorbing it like a sponge. So it's absolutely amazing what you're doing and the work that you're doing. I'm going to put all your links in so that people can explore some of the incredible things that you have on your website. And I think that we're definitely going to have to do a round 2 of this because it's amazing. Everything you say is amazing.
When our busy lives,
yeah,
when our busy lives,
I know,
we've had
it's taken us like 2
quite
months to find a date that we could both match up again. But we've done it, and hopefully this file won't be corrupted. This file's going to go through.
It'll
So,
be fine.
yeah, let's see how we go with this one, and we'll make sure we get it up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Melly. You're just wonderful, and thank you for doing the work that you do. And please, if you're anywhere close to Melly, make sure you take one of her courses. She's amazing.
Thank you so much. And it's been an absolute pleasure, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thank you.